That is actually kind of.
I'm going to
for all
a
the
wedding.
dad
She
jokes
actually-
that
she-
make me
she-
go,
she is.
That one is actually kind of cute. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
The old pig and the python. Gotta look that up.
I know. Yeah, I'm looking that one up too.
It's a good one, wasn't it?
You should have seen the look on his face.
What does it
That's
mean?
my guy right there.
Save me the Google in 30 seconds or less. What does it mean?
Like if a python ate a pig, like the front half of it would be kind of normal, but then there'd be a pig inside of a python, and then it would go back down.
It'd be a big, yeah, see the curve? Okay.
Bell curve, bell curve.
But Brent was very, he was like,
That's my guy.
yeah. See when we hired him, do you see?
He didn't even use that during the interview. He had that sitting in his back.
Yeah. It was.
Oh, shoot. All right. It is 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Pershman.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Mock. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we have nobody here this evening for community comment. We have no presentations and reports. We also don't have any public hearings, so that moves us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Sayre,
Second.
second by Councilmember Pasco. Any further discussion?
Yeah, can I say thank you to the Darwin and Donna Stapleton family for their contribution to the fire department.
You may.
There we go. That was it.
All right, Chrissy.
That was going to be my exact comment. So.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. We are for a moment going to take a step back to a work session item that we ran out of time for. For the folks who are watching at home, the work sessions are items where we basically just kind of get background information on items and kind of talk about things. It's the casual kitchen table conversation that I'm so fond of referring to it as. So with that, we are going to discuss item number 4 from the work session agenda, which is the Enclave residential housing concept. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a little bit out of the ordinary. You reviewed the first concept plan by D.R. Horton, oh, darn it, at your April 7th meeting. Due to the amount of feedback that you had on some portions of the project, we've been working with the developer to redesign some portions of the site, and we have some questions for you that we want to do a quick check-in about. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so on the screen right now is the concept that you saw at your April 7th meeting. So this should look familiar to you. This is the version that's been on the city website that you looked at that meeting. The Planning Commission also reviewed in March. So both the Planning Commission and City Council had some concerns about the park area in the south portion of this project, specifically related to access to the park, how parking would happen in those cul-de-sacs. It would feel like maybe a backyard park for a couple people, but not super open to the rest of the community. So we took some time with the developer. Several of us walked the site, which was fun for some, less fun for others. But it was great to get to know the site a little bit, see where this park is going to lay out, and then just generally walk the remainder of the site with so many topo areas that are fun to explore, create trail systems in our head, start to think about how the project lays out.
Erin, before you switch slides, we're having
Yeah.
a little bit of technical difficulties on our
Oh,
laptop
okay.
or our iPads. Can you zoom in a little bit on that park space so we can see it a little bit more closely?
Maybe.
Oh.
I was just in PowerPoint, so let me. It's not the clearest version, so I'm just going to pull up the previous version.
You got yours open? now?
I
Okay,
don't
I'll
want to
try
jinx
again.
myself, but it's working.
Oh,
had issues with it this afternoon. It would,
It worked for me over the weekend, but yeah,
When we're trying to open that map you're showing, we just get blank screens.
We struggled printing it too, like it's such a large file with so many layers that it is probably just bogging down your iPad. So I have it up if the screen can come back.
You know what, the old website heard us talking so fondly of the new website. and,
Yeah.
Oh, it's not even reading that it's plugged
I'm going to redo it.
in. Yeah.
Did you open PDF? Or like HTML?
I tried HTML.
I did a PDF and it didn't go either, so.
and I had issues with the packet version.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I ended up downloading it and opening it in a PDF reader specifically.
I wouldn't use my actual laptop.
Yeah.
I opened up okay today. So I didn't try it on this one
Yeah.
until we got here.
Yeah, it just, the processing power wasn't there. Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And could you maybe, you can't quite read it, can you maybe say what was on this initial plan, just so?
Yep. They had a hockey rink, pickleball 2 courts, basketball half courts, a play system, and then an active area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to my slides now though. I can use, it's all, can I use your computer?
If you want to tell again, be on the record with it. Anybody else got any dad jokes? Aaron? Dave? Andrew? I call that coming to a meeting unprepared, gentlemen. Eric, any dad jokes from you?
Anything I say to my kid is interpreted as that.
Joke. Without trying.
Yes. What do you got?
Duck.
We have no idea what
That's
that
what I
means. We're
thought.
like, oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Do we need to leave the room for that?
Yeah.
Right here?
If she had a NASA vest on, I'd just be like,
Oh, yay.
Nobody sneeze.
Okay, thanks for your patience.
Yep.
So this is the version, again, that you saw on April 7th. We just zoomed into that park area, so it was hockey, pickleball, basketball, and then an active area. So since the April 7th meeting, we've done a ton of work with the developer. You'll see some changes in the general layout of the entire development. We're not so focused on that information tonight. We want to focus specifically on the park since it's such a big feature, something we want to understand more with the developer. Should we continue to move forward with this layout? Should we change it? What are you looking for, et cetera? So this is the updated version. You can see that there's been some changes to the park area specifically. We have asked them to remove the programming just to say, give us some time to think about it. Don't put a hockey rink in there if we haven't decided we want a hockey rink yet. So the general park area is highlighted in green on the south area of the concept. You can see that a few of the lots were removed to give views of the park from the cul-de-sac, and then a parking lot has been added. So one of the big concerns was that for the folks that were living in that cul-de-sac, they would have constant people parking on their street. So a parking lot has been added, and then we have asked the developer to really highlight the trail and sidewalk system. So thinking about it on a holistic view, how this park connects into Timber Creek, the preserve, everything that's east of this project, as well as the 530 units that are proposed in the concept plan. So general layout changes a bit. You can see here's the April 7th version on top, the current version that's on the screen on the bottom. Some project details, it's to be programmed, a larger engagement process is to come. So just because the first version had those uses doesn't mean that's how it's going to shake out. We would do an engagement process to get some feedback from the community, the Planning Commission, and the City Council. Regardless of how this entire project lays out, this area would likely be held an outlot, regardless of if it's a park or not, because of the trail connection into Timber Creek and some bluff conditions in that area. So thinking about the trail connection into Timber Creek, this is the regional trail that we anticipate to head towards Waconia. So it starts in Timber Creek 4. It's the rustic trail similar to the Hawthorne Ridge system, moves into the enclave. So should we move forward with just home sites in this area in that cul-de-sac, the home sites would likely have a trail in their backyard, that regional system trail with a lot of people using it, frankly. And then thinking about park dedication, what does this do to our numbers? What would this park cost, et cetera? So based on 2025 numbers, which are slated to increase for park dedication for the enclave, the 530 units, the project is anticipated to bring in about $2.2 million if we took cash only. So should we move forward with the park concept that's shown tonight, we would do a combination. So we would say, we'll take that park in addition to probably some cash. I don't anticipate that this park would cost $2.2 million. So we likely would shake out with a combination of this project. So some cash, some improvements to the park, and then some cash as well, which we could use for future park funding with a park dedication fund.
Can you flip back to the map again so I can see where that trail is, the regional section?
Let me move forward.
Oh, forward? Okay, however you want to.
So this is the illustrative concept from Timber Creek. So you can see the yellow dash line is that rustic trail that's being constructed with the Timber Creek project, starting in Timber Creek 4, meandering down to Timber Creek 5, which is that big cul-de-sac, the southernmost area. The yellow line is the space between the two concept plans that doesn't exist on a map, but that's the connection that it will make from Timber Creek into the enclave. So you can see this trail system starts to become pretty impressive, starting even beyond Ironwood Park, but thinking about Ironwood Park as a trailhead for this one, you move through Timber Creek, get into that rustic trail system, move through the enclave, and then we'll continue this trail west as we continue to develop. So we've been working with the county a little bit on this one. They've been trying to think about how to connect Carver and Waconia for a while, and we think we're starting to lay some of the foundation to figure out where it goes. We typically have been trying to follow the rail corridor, so there's some areas that it's like, duh, a trail has to be here. What else would it be? But then there are times that we are fumbling and falling throughout these sites trying to figure out how to connect a trail, but we figure it out. It usually ends up to be okay. But just a visual representation of the two projects, Timber Creek and then the enclave connecting with that trail system.
So which one is considered the regional one? The one up top or the one with the yellow arrow?
The dash.
The
So
dam. Okay.
starting here,
But did you not say that that is going to be not paved?
Correct.
And that, but I thought all the regional trails in the area they had paved.
So I would say the county typically is going to say the regional trail is going to be paved. We're considering this to be regional because we're starting to stretch towards Waconia.
Okay. Okay. So that's, so we can call it that regardless if it's paved or not, I mean.
I'm calling it that, yeah. It wouldn't be a
I
county
don't know
trail.
what it's called, but the old railway bed, it's probably in Chan proper, that section that was washed out for a number of years, that's not paved.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a hard and fast.
Okay, okay. And we have a lot of grade in this area. So, you know, when we're talking about taking park dedication money rather than paving the trail, would it make more sense that we didn't take it in cash and paved what we could? Since we might be looking at washouts there?
We likely cannot pave the section in Timber Creek to get equipment down there. And then into the enclave is not possible in some locations. So it's similar to Hawthorne Ridge where getting equipment in there would be cost prohibitive, frankly. So we are doing the best we can to maintain it, making it accessible. But I would say paving these trails is not an option.
Okay. I know there's some in Mankato, which is a great bunch of hills too, that they've managed to pave some. Obviously not ADA accessible because they can't, I mean, they just aren't. So I'm just wondering how they got in there for those. That's something I might look at a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Christy mentioned, there's a ton of topography in this area. So on this concept plan, this is the Lenzen home, and then the park is slated to be in this general area. So you can see the project drops off really quickly in this area. So could it be bluff condition on the other side of the park? Potentially. We are eyeing some of these areas here for potentially a sledding hill, which I know has been a focus for the council for a while. And then thinking through our park system, zooming out a bit and thinking about where other parks are in relation to this project, bringing 530 additional homes into this area specifically. I've been thinking a lot about park siting and park location. So in general, the golden rule that you always try to follow is that you want folks to have a park within a 10-minute walk or about a quarter mile of their home to be able to say that you have accessible parks for the entire community. Is that possible? No. Do we try for it? Sometimes. But this park starts to hit a location where we're pretty desperate for a park just location-wise. So thinking through the project boundary for this section, thinking through yellow would be the townhomes adjacent to Highway 212. To get from the farthest west project boundary to Ironwood, it's a 1.32 mile walk for folks. To get to Olson Park, which would be the closest playground system, is nearly 2 miles from those townhomes. And then thinking through the farthest southwest corner, it's 1.4 miles to Ironwood and 1.2 to Olson Park. This park, I think, additionally would draw folks from Timber Creek this direction, so away from Ironwood and Olson Park, and adding a third component for them to visit for a unique park feature as we think through programming, bringing people to this location too. So thinking about what's in Ironwood, thinking about what's in Olson, complementing it, but also creating some draws to the area. So again, the two concepts are on the screen now. The park that you saw on April 7th provided a ton of feedback on, and then the proposed version tonight. So I'll pull up the full version and open it up for discussion.
All right, who wants to start?
I have one question, knowing that this is very concept, but with enclave, with the idea of the parking lot, a range on the number of parking spaces, and knowing that
I
it's
would,
very early to ask, and not looking for a solid number, maybe a range.
do you know how many we put in at Creekside?
I don't know what Creekside, but at Ironwood, I think we had 35, maybe 6.
I think there was like upper 30s in Ironwood, if I remember right.
And how many do we have here?
Looks like pretty similar, looks like.
I'd say more than, I'd say maybe 40 to 50. I want to say Creekside we hit around 60, but that's a little bit larger of a lot. So we could definitely apply our parking standards to it, but we would take feedback from you as well. I think a lot of it would also depend on the type of programming. Like a ball field would require a lot more parking than a playground would. So just know that a parking lot would be established in that location with spots to be defined based on factors we'll learn.
All right, thank you.
So Sledding Hill sounds great. What else does that topography there lend itself to?
So there is a nice flat area. So there's a little bit of a hill here. It's not massive by any means. And then this is the really flat park area. It falls off pretty drastically south of the park. So we would anticipate that that would be an area with program park features.
I don't have any other questions.
When I'm waiting to see if you were still thinking, or, go ahead. Okay, so thanks for answering about the stalls. So the orientation of the parking lot, I do not care for. It lands right in the center, so I'm gonna say what I say, and if there's a reason that it's where it's at, then let me know. What I see is that we have homes that, lot one there, and then you put, not you, then the parking lot was put right next to it, rather than putting over next to the water where car noise, headlights, all of that jazz that goes along with the parking lot isn't so close to a residential yard and home.
Yeah.
So without knowing if there's a reason behind it, I would prefer to see that parking lot moved to where the kind of cross red line is, and then be between there and where the water is at.
Agreed. They had some programmed uses in here that we asked them to pull out. So the parking worked when they had some additional uses in there. We just had to strip those out. We don't want to show anything.
Okay.
Just leave it green for now. So the parking lot is that shape for that reason, but I agree that it's not a great orientation right now.
Okay. I think this park can be very unique because of the trail that comes into it. So I am happy to not see things like pickleball and other things like that there. I also want to maybe warn against any type of major park shelter, like a beam and roof is great, but we don't want vandalism because we're tucked back a little bit farther. Again, we've learned some of that from some of the smaller, some kind of playground equipment for families to visit and then go off on the trail for a little bit. But I think that some of those really active uses of pickleball and things like that, maybe this isn't the right spot for it. Sledding Hill could be, very seasonally Sledding Hill. But the other stress then is just that I think it's good to have some type of shelter there, but minimal structure so that we have less vandalism issues in the parking lot. That's all I have. Oh, sorry. The lake. Did we find out if that was man-made or if that was something that was natural?
We think it's man-made. It's such an interesting shape. Okay. But being out there, we really tried to change the trail orientation in that area too. So we wanted to hug it towards the lots and bring it farther west than it is, so around that pond. It's pretty steep along that pond, but then we were out there, we were thinking of boardwalk across, like we were spitballing some fun ideas, but the trail seems a little goofy in that area, but it's due to topography and tightness between the lots and the pond.
Okay, since we do have the drive and the trail then next to lot 16 there, is there gonna be any berming maybe that separates that?
Yeah, we could, or some heavy landscaping or something.
Okay, thank you. Kayla?
I think that this with the parking lot is a lot better. I also like the more open access to it so that it is visible to the community. The way that it was before, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there, which meant about 5 houses would know that it was there. So that's really good. Unrelated to this, I was going over the environmental report. Are they planning on putting sound barriers up by the interstate for this, or by the highway for this?
To be determined. So the EAW called for it. So the environmental assessment worksheet was on the consent agenda. The request for the council was to allow me to distribute it. So you didn't make a decision on the EAW tonight. You just said that I can sign it and send it to all the groups that need to review it. I'm anticipating we'll get some feedback about those lots. I had feedback about those lots. So the ask of the EAW is to determine if environmental impact statement is required. So you'll have that before you in a couple weeks probably. And then I think we'll flush some of that through with platting too. I was pretty concerned about it. This is the closest we've been to 212.
Yeah, those noise numbers were deeply concerning.
Agreed. Yeah, we're on the same page with that. And then I know in previous projects like the Preserve and Meridian Fields, they've been able to mitigate with just some berming, landscaping, and then heavier construction materials. But this feels like maybe a different ballgame.
It's a lot closer to the
Yeah.
interstate.
So we'll learn more through the plating process, through the EAW process, see if folks comment, which then DR Horton, the development team, will be required to respond and give us some answers about it.
I'm also pleased to see that we don't have quite so many cul-de-sacs.
Yes, we've been working really hard on the design, and I think we're getting pretty close to a good end product.
So thank you for all your work on this. This was not an easy redesign process. So
This one, it was fun.
Appreciate
Like the
it.
site visit was super fun. I hadn't been on that property before, so just to be able to check out like the barn, where the house is, all the property, it's a unique property more unique than what we have. It's more topographically diverse compared to like flat cornfields that we've been developing. So some of these lots are going to be really beautiful in some locations. So
well, like I said, thank you for all your work. This is getting closer to something that I think we can work with. So.
topographically, that's the word. I got there.
Didn't want to correct you. You worked so hard.
I got there.
What you made up. Are you good?
Those are my comments.
Let's see. For me, I've got a little bit of a laundry list. I love the trails. I love the trail connections. I also, to surprise no one in this room, except maybe Andrew, who doesn't know me as well, love the mention of a sledding hill. We were talking about this earlier today, and Aaron said sledding hill. I was like, I can get on board with that. Is the sledding hill going to be kind of from west to east with the topography there?
Yeah, I don't know. But I would anticipate that it would be somewhere in this band of hill. So depending on how the park shakes out.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
See your
Can't
arrow.
see.
You can see it on my computer.
I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. Let's see. I had the same feedback as Christy
There
about
it
the
is.
parking lot location. I guess it would make sense if there would be something on the top. If not, and if we're starting from a blank slate, it would make more sense to me to snug it up to something a little bit more. Even if it's, I keep thinking of Community Park and how that parking lot is right up to the homes there, which is very easily accommodated by a fence, which is what all of those homes have, the homes off of Hershey. So that would be my feedback of a maybe on that parking lot configuration, because I want to make the best use of that space. I also think it's important that we have programming to match the parking. And for me, that almost means like probably not something for team sports being programmed back there because of all of the parents and grandparents and you name it that come and then spill over into the streets. Let's see. I also think that unique programming would be really important there. Would love to see some stuff that we don't necessarily see in every single park in the city of Carver. I don't know what that looks like, if it's adult exercise equipment or what, but would love to see some stuff there that draws people in, because I think there's going to be a risk. I mean, we have some development where folks weren't aware of all the parks that our community has to offer, but I think this is going to be really tucked away, and this is going to could be potentially as obscure as like Overlook Park, of folks not knowing where it is or that it's available as a park. My last, concern is just with this going in and taking this in lieu of park dedication, I'm worried about shorting the park dedication fund. Because we didn't have this in the master plan for programming. We still have search areas and other areas. We still have like park dead revenue that we need to raise. We're gonna have to take a look at reevaluating our fees. I'm okay with that, but I just want to know and make sure that we all know that going into this, that we're going to have to get that money from somewhere, because we don't want to be all built out and not have the park amenities that we want someday.
Or we have to reevaluate the park amenities.
Right.
One of the two
Yeah.
then has to match up correctly.
Yeah, everybody gets a sand baseball, field, and nothing's there.
Yeah. So on my winter to-do list is to take a look at the Parks Master Plan. So it was developed in 2018. We have some new parks and park features on our radar that we didn't know then. So we'll be adding a few things in that will impact our park dedication fee. Like one of them we're thinking about is the underpass in Summerfield.
Yeah.
Thinking about that as a trail connection, thinking about park dedication there. So this winter, the Planning Commission is going to take a look at the Parks Master Plan. We'll do some additions to our park plan. We'll also square up on a number for the landing, just so we can start tracking what that number actually is. And then Lynn and I have been working pretty hard on projections to make sure we can give you a realistic year of when the landing can start. If it's 2029, 2030, we want to get that pretty right with the amount of community engagement we want to do in the next couple of years. So all on our radar, more to come, but
Okay.
we're thinking those same things.
Okay. And then my last comment shifts from park specific, but taking a look at this, it was important to me to see larger lot sizes. Everybody in this room has heard me say this before, and I'm still not quite seeing that on this concept plan. So
Yeah.
just wanted to share that feedback.
Yep, and we can share that with DR again.
That's it for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back with, you had talked about the parking lot, and, I mean, that was my first comment is how that was oriented on this plan. So if it, and I hope I made it clear, if it does impede on something of a, feature, we'll just, in quotes, say sledding hill for now. Then if it has to shift towards lot one, okay, I would prefer it to be as far away from homes as possible, but then I think if it had to go that way, because let's say underneath where that water that's the spot for the sledding hill, then I would just really like to see some type of berming, because although you mentioned community park with the fencing, back in the day, I heard many complaints about that parking lot being right up and park equipment, balls and things flying over into people's yards and things like that. So if we can do that little bit of buffering, if we do have to slide that parking lot closer to either of the lots there, to just maybe, the berm is gonna save us some from future headache too.
Agreed.
My last question, Street J, it looks like the square in the middle. The parcel, are we ghosting those plats,
Yeah, so the property that is west of this one is challenging for a lot of reasons. So DR has been working with that property owner to potentially acquire some property that would allow them to build some lots in this spot. This is probably the only buildable node on this portion of their property. It's really hilly between here and where their home site is.
Okay.
So we wouldn't anticipate that development could happen in this area if it isn't off the enclave. So DR has been working with that property owner. We'll learn more through platting, but generally they're moving forward with platted lots in that area.
Okay. Making sure, so when you say they're moving forward with those lots, they don't own it yet?
No, they don't own any of the property yet. That typically happens after preliminary plat approval.
Okay.
But they have, I would say, probably a purchase agreement with that next
Or that
property
little
owner.
piece there?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Just one other quick question, going back to the park dedication money.
Mm-hmm.
If this was created as is, and the program was a wonderful sledding hill, what do we estimate we would get back in park dedication? This, as it sits, a sledding hill, what do you think would come back in?
So we typically would prorate it like a per acre basis, so depending on how the size shakes out. We typically get to an agreement between 60 and 80 per acre for park right now. That's just what we've typically collected. So like Ironwood, it was in that range with Lennar. This is not a massive park. I would say it's maybe 2 acres max. So thinking about land costs, and then we'll tell them how we want it to be programmed. They'll go to get a quote. We'll use that. So we won't hit an arbitrary number of, I think a play system is 40,000 and they think it's 90,000. We'll take their actual quote for construction and use that against the park dedication total. So depending on what the uses are, if you want it to be an open field, just a sledding hill, we'll get a lot more cash. If you want it to be a heavily programmed area with a splash pad and 10 drinking fountains and 4 bathrooms, obviously our collection of cash is going to decrease really significantly.
But you don't have a projection there yet? Okay,
No.
that's fine.
Erin, if we have, there's that big wraparound underneath lots 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a reason that we want that as parkland and we wouldn't have 1, 2, 3, 4 become larger lots and then would we get more money then because we were taking less parkland?
Maybe. The tricky thing is, I think for those larger lots, folks would be disappointed to have a trail in their backyard. So if you buy a larger lot for some privacy, but you have a trail going into a park, I think that could be a little problematic, where this would give them a little bit of a buffer. So,
What's the topography there, though? Is the trail could be far below that?
It's not, it's like, I think the trail is at the top.
There's
of
your
the-
arrow.
trying to get my mouse in. Yeah, so it's high here, so it tracks along a high point.
Well, larger lots are a goal of ours. Now we have park land that is kind of wrapped in a circle around some homes that doesn't become very usable for us either. I guess if you're gonna have a big lot, maybe you like having a trail behind your house, you're gonna have a park next to it, so.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. If we're going to do large lots, I want them to feel like an executive level lot.
You want them to feel that way, but
Yeah.
what we're, as the council though, I want to talk about the fact of if we're taking unusable park space and we have a chance to have larger lots here or however that gets configured, because we would then, I'm assuming if we're taking less land, we're gonna be able to take more money in cash in lieu at that point. So do we think that this piece of, circle under the bottom is worth taking?
But if this is you think that this park is proposed as 2 acres, 2 to 3 acres?
That'd be my estimate right now, yeah.
So, I see what Aaron is saying about if you have the money to shell out an executive lot, you kind of don't want the perception of having to share your lot with me and my dog and whomever else might be walking on that trail or, lollygagging, whatever. I also worry that if we split that, then there's not as much runway for a sledding hill, and is the juice worth the squeeze of putting a park back there? Because then that's a 1 to 1.5 acre lot park.
So maybe it's lot 1 that feels wonky in there. I don't, there's just something that I don't know that if you're gonna have the house, are we gonna have a sledding hill that's gonna curve? Again, I can't see the topography of this. Is it gonna curve down behind people's houses and then they're gonna walk back up? Or is it gonna go towards the word park and go that way and then people are gonna walk back up?
I'll also say, I think, for me personally, an executive lot with privacy would hit here instead.
Sure.
Nothing can develop behind you. I think that's where people pay the premium cost to say, I have a larger lot, it's completely private compared to this area. So we have had some feedback about lot 1 too. We went back and forth on this probably 3 or 4 times, and DR eventually just said, move forward. We gotta stop making small edits. So know that we can absolutely say, think about lot 1, take it out potentially just to give us more view.
I'm not gonna be as prescriptive as to tell you where I wanna see the larger lot sizes. If it is on Street J and those ghost platted properties, then great. Ideally, they're not backing up to 212,
Right.
but I think you know what it takes to put together an area of nicer, larger lots.
Well, and that's fine if they go there. All right, so we have a spot. That was important. It's important. I think it's important to most of us. I still feel that park, that little lower level of park seems strange. And I don't know what the fix is for that, but it just seems awkward for usage. How far would you say it's from that trail to the back of that lot line? Do you know?
So we'll take the trail in an outlet regardless. So we will own property behind those houses. I would say it looks similar to a house pad, like a lot depth, which is typically 120.
Okay. 'Cause I don't know, our kids gonna be running and playing back there, or are these homes gonna end up using it as their own property? And now we have the issues of, well, now you're encroaching into the park and you put your shed there.
That's 40 feet into.
Yep, you put your shed there, you've done all that, so.
I'm not trying to close the discussion down, but I think what staff was looking for is just, it feels like I'm hearing the council is okay with a park in this area, but there needs to be some tweaks, and you'll see that in preliminary plat, but I think we've got some brushstrokes enough to take that back to DR Horton. I am curious if the council could name, like what, like these are what, a third of an acre or quarter an acre lots, or 10,000 square feet, is that about right?
I would say between 7 and 10.
What, when the council says larger lots, can you be more prescriptive about that? Are you looking for a 20,000 square foot lot, or what's the number so that we can articulate that back to DR Horton?
Yeah, it's, for me, it's nudging up on an acre. And I think I said that when they were in for the concept plan. And we have those in some parts of our community now. Granted, it's in areas that we would take in outlots now, but I think, again, it's that having housing on both ends of the spectrum and having a more executive lot size. And I think with that, I don't think it's having a huge backyard and then still having 10-foot setbacks on either side. I think it's more of an executive area. So, but with 500 homes in here, there's gotta be a way that DR can figure it out.
Can I ask a question, Aaron? Is that within DR Horton's scope? Do they have the demand for that? That may be something council has a desire for, but what are they seeing as a market ask for that?
So they've shared that they could make the larger lots, but they don't have a housing type that's compatible for that. It's not going to be a custom build. It will be a DR Horton product
Right.
still. And then I'll also share that the importance of having the homes close together in the front is the utility connection, and then our ability to assess in the future for reconstruction if there needs to be a project on the street. So if it's an acre, we typically need to see 3.5 properties in 1 acre. If we go down to just one, we lose that taxable value of 3.5, 2.5 additional houses. So we can balance the site, but we will need to be creative in some other areas. So
Are you talking about the density level of 3? But we're already, that says Carver as a whole, is it not? We're already over density level because of our multifamily housing, correct?
So our entire plan needs to balance at 3.5. This project will need to hit close to that. I am thinking a little bit about that townhome area with the sound that's shown in the EAW. I don't know if all those buildings are going to work. I don't know if they can bump the density up in that area enough to balance the lower side of the site if we go to 10 1-acre lots. It's going to get a little bit trickier. We're going to have to get more creative with it.
As the city of Carver as a whole, not just this development, because the 3.5 is city of Carver proper as a whole.
Correct.
Right. So if this development doesn't meet that, don't we have some wiggle room yet with the number of multifamilies that's going in, so we can still meet that number?
So to go below 3, if this project comes in at 2.7, we would have to do a comp plan text amendment because our low density range is 3 to 5 units per acre.
Gotcha,
I
okay.
would say that is a slippery slope to go down, especially knowing that Carver, Oaks and Carver Place both platted. We used that balance in the past couple of years to balance some other sites. I don't have those 2 multifamily sites in our future right now to be able to say, this project can hit 2.9 because I know XYZ is going to happen. It will somewhere, but having that in our back pocket to balance some additional sites, that the 2 multifamily that were just added balanced Copper Hills, and that was a 2018 project that we had to balance.
Okay, so we don't have any extra balance from the multifamily, because we've used that for the other developments.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the Met Council shared in the next version of the comp plan, 3.5 will be their requirement. So to hit below that, we would have to do a text amendment with the Met Council. I'm generally going to say they wouldn't be overly supportive of that idea.
Of hitting it 2.7, or of the larger
Anywhere
lots in
below,
general. What's that?
anywhere below, we would have to do a text amendment. So we're at 3 to 5 right now.
Yeah.
We would have to go in and do a text amendment to allow below 3.
Okay, yeah,
So I guess when we were talking about size-wise, though, an acre, as much as I would love it, I don't know, that seemed a little bit large if you wanted to look at, unless it was something where you owned into bluff land. But like, maybe something like 3/4 of an acre was more.
I'm not
had
super
mine.
specific, 3/4 an
Okay,
acre.
just something-
Like, just look in the bluffs, even on, I'm trying to think, not Gilfillan, but whatever that turns into, there are some larger lots back there. And again, it's
For sure.
still like the normal houses that fit, right? They're not custom builds, especially on that street name that I can't remember, but I think we need to see, again, like we're talking about variety of housing, and this is our opportunity with 500 homes, it feels like. And I don't know the wizardry that you do, and I understand that it's easier than me saying, there's gotta be a way, make it happen. So I wanna know that I want to be respectful of you and your profession, but I would love to see a handful of larger lots.
And we could get creative where we could think about them in a couple different locations. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be a stretch of 5 in a row.
Yeah.
We could ask them to extend some lots. Like, there's some, even some large ones in Meridian Fields extending into that outlot. They get a little goofy, but there's some.
Yeah, it will not take much to please me on this one.
Yeah, and I'll say, we'll share that information. I don't know what the end result will be.
Right. Any other thoughts?
I do, I have one.
Go ahead.
And not for an answer tonight, but regardless of the size of a lot or if it's, you know, what's being proposed or what's in the concept, would there ever be an option to have a detached garage or like and I might not be calling it the right thing, but like a secondary building or like an additional structure? Could there be, you know, a handful of those, you know?
So do you mean a house with no attached garage with a detached?
With, in addition to an attached garage, a secondary?
Mother-in-law suite or something like that.
Oh, sorry. You can do that now. So if you have a lot that is larger, you can add a second or a detached structure, which can be a garage. Typically in our residential districts, the max footprint is 800 square feet. So some folks that have larger lots, you'll see a secondary garage.
Okay.
It's totally possible, mostly related to your current lot size now. So
And
definitely
right,
could be
it's
something.
800 square feet.
Correct.
Thank you.
Can I clarify one thing though? Because I heard Councilmember Pasco say mother-in-law suite.
Oh,
This is
sure.
not accessory dwelling units. This
Okay.
is just an accessory structure.
Sheds,
I know
garages.
ADUs are being discussed with the new zoning code
Okay.
update, but
Sounds good.
just wanted to make sure there was.
Yeah.
So Bluff Road, those are technically between 0.86 and 1, I think there's one down here that's like a 1.38 acres. Obviously, it goes down into bluffland. I mean, is that considered, I mean, do we consider those are some pretty big lots. Are those considered executive homes?
I would.
Be considered that in today's world?
I'd say that's maybe up to you, what you wanted to be. I'll also
What
say
in the
though,
planning world would they think? I mean, in your planning world, would you consider that?
Not a term they use.
Yeah.
we would never plat lots like that again. We would take that bluff area and an outlot. So those are definitely larger lots, but likely not an apples to apples comparison. So thinking about Hawthorne Ridge, those lots all could have been 5 acres if we didn't have the outlot behind for bluff preservation. So it's a change in how we plat. Like there are some developments where lot lines extend through a pond, which we wouldn't do again on a public pond. So we have some lessons learned that change how we plat some areas. But yes, if you wanted it to be, I don't know if all of these lots will have bluff impact. So it might be a more natural backyard. But I think there could be some opportunity, especially on the west side of the property boundary.
Reescraft, that's the name of the street I was trying to think of. All right, any other comments? Okay, all right. Thank you, Erin.
I told you it'd be more than 7 minutes.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks for riding that technology wave with me.
Okay, no problem. Okay, back to the regular meeting, talking about business items. Number 8.1 on our agenda is the purchase agreement for the Public Services Department. Mr. Merrick.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have two actions for City Council consideration this evening. One related to entering into a purchase agreement with Bruce and Nancy Jerrison for 22 acres at $715,000, and then another resolution approving an interfund loan for $900,000 from the Fund 406, the county turnback account. So we kind of get into the details. The council had previously directed staff to look into a land analysis for a future public services building. Spent the better part of a year looking at different properties in the hopes of citing a specific property to assist with the pre-design and design development of a future property or a future public services facility. On the 21st of July, the council held a closed session to review sites and the site analysis performed by the staff. Looked at half a dozen areas, land cost, which is obvious, off-site infrastructure, so that's related to any street or utility improvements, water, sanitary, sewer, etc. Tax base impact related to attempting to preserve commercial industrial corridors or future development and the diversification of our tax base. The ability to locate a future water treatment plant. In the early part of the 2030s, the city has in its 10-year plan to add some additional capacity for water treatment. Potential impact to adjacent neighborhoods or residents. And then finally, public services operations impact. So we landed as a preferred site on property owned by, again, Bruce and Nancy Jerrison. You can see there the acreage is plus or minus 22 acres. So as a part of our due diligence process, we'd be working on surveys, soil borings, any title issues with the property, so that number might flex in the next upcoming months. The price is based on a want of the seller to close before the end of the year. So you'll notice in the purchase agreement, we are closing, I think, December or on or before December 15th. The city attorney has prepared a purchase agreement. I think I'll throw it over to Dave just to kind of run through the particulars of the agreement.
Sure, thanks, Brent, Mayor, Council. So the agreement, of course, is in your packet. It's a relatively standard purchase agreement for an acquisition like we're seeing here. There's a lot of boilerplate language in there, but the important things, I think, from a deal perspective are the purchase price, which is $32.5 an acre, as City Manager Merrick provided. We have due diligence through October 31st, and that would give the city through that time period, which is essentially 3 months from now, a little less than that, to send our engineers out there, do soil borings, any environmental review, just to make sure the site is going to meet our needs. I don't think there's any indication or reason to believe it won't, but of course, when you buy property for a specific reason, you want to make sure before you close on the deal that we can do what we want to do on the land. And then we're also going to work with the Jerrison Trust to make applications both for subdivision. The land has to be subdivided from a larger parent parcel that it is currently a part of, and then annex the land into the city. So we'll do that pursuant to county rules on the subdivision, because the land is still in the township. Once the subdivision occurs and it becomes its own parcel, we'll be able to work on getting a petition to the city council for your review and approval for annexation under our agreement with Dahlgren Township. And those are all contingencies in here. So the goal really was to close on December 15th and make sure the property is as ready for us to do everything we need to do with it as possible. So a lot of work needs to go into this between now and the closing date, but I've been in contact with the seller's attorney. They've been responsive, easy to work with. I know Brent has been in contact with the sellers throughout this process and during the negotiations, and it appears everybody's on the same page. So I think the agreement in front of you tonight is, of course, recommended. It makes sense. If you have any questions about language or details or anything that anyone has discussed tonight or is in your packet, feel free to reach out.
So continuing on, I did provide a little kind of a site map. The property is located on Jonathan Carver Parkway or County Road 11 going south to Jordan on the west side. A good landmark is there is a U.S. Fish and Wildlife trailhead with some restrooms directly on the east side of Jonathan Carver Parkway. For reference, you can see where it is located in relation to the Carver Bluffs neighborhood and Creekside Park. A little bit on some of the due diligence pieces. So again, you can see the land price, an estimate on soil borings. We do a phase 1 environmental, some survey work, legal title, paying an annexation fee. This is a property that's currently in Dahlgren Township. The city is allowed to annex it. Connected with the chair of the Dahlgren Township Board, Jeff Thompson, and let him know that the city council would be considering this. We have a contingency in addition to the subtotal, so around $826,000. We have a interim plan for financing, so a 1-year interfund loan from the county CASA 40 turnback account. So to underscore this, we do still plan on using that for CASA 40. However, we're applying for local road improvement funds through the state, or commonly referred to as LRIP, I think is the acronym. So we won't be in a position to use those funds for the next year as we're kind of sorting through that grant application process. So this allows us to do one bond issuance or have the city council consider doing one bond issuance in August of 2026, so that the council can consider doing the Southwest Utilities project, Commerce Drive, and then this land purchase all in one. And the reason that's beneficial is there's a bond rating process, there's legal review, there's cost of issuance, and then so rather than doing 3 separate or 2 in 1, you can do 3 and maximize the cost of going out for funding. Our plan would be to do a capital improvement bond, and so that requires a formal planning process. And so we've engaged Northland, so Tammy Amdahl and Jess Green, to start that process for this fall. And so that's one of probably several different funding mechanisms, excuse me. But in order to use that funding mechanism, you have to hold a public hearing, establish a maximum cost. So we've rounded that, or we'll be rounding that to $1 million. And then there's a 30-day window where 5% of the voters from the last city or municipal general election could call for a reverse referendum. So this is the same process and financing plan, if you will, that was used for City Hall and as well as the Fire Station Public Services Improvement Project related to the roof and turnout gear room that was constructed in 2025. So in your packet is the proposed purchase agreement, which has been signed by the Jerrisons, copy of the property acquisition area or that figure drawing, and then a resolution for the interfund loan. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions? Nothing from Christie? Nothing from Kayla? Nothing from... No? My only question is we've got 4 months to do all these due diligence items, easy for me to say, and you've kind of stressed that it's a little bit of a ramped up timeline, but I just want to make sure that that's doable.
Yes.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve execution of a purchase agreement with Bruce and Nancy Jurison for approximately the easternmost 22 acres of PID 0402603000 for $32,500 per acre for a total of $715,000.
Motion by
I'll
Councilmember
second.
Mock, second by Councilmember Pershman. Any further discussion? I just want to say this was really well done. I think everybody that's sitting in this room on the other side of the dais had something to do with this, and you guys made it really clear and straightforward, and this is a really good purchase for the City of Carver. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, I'll make the next motion to adopt resolution 122-25, approving an interfund loan in the amount of $900,000 from Fund 406 Turnback account.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Hirschman, seconded by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, 8.2 is the Future Public Services Department Facility Planning Scope. Mr. Simmons and Mr. Merrick.
Yeah, I'll start it off and then tag in Andrew. We spent a lot of time as a team kind of talking about how we should present this to the council, just kind of bring everybody into the fold. We had the city engaged with Ortel Architects to do a space study. We did a lot of public engagement, held a listening session, and got some feedback, prepared a handout that went into the newsletter. But as ostensively, the project kind of broke down into space needed in certain quantities for certain year build out. So this is the space that you need at 20 years, 30 years, and 50 years. And one of the things that kind of I learned kind of post that official process is this informal conversations with Andrew as a new member of the team and him leading the public services department. And it occurred to me that the space study is kind of just that. It's kind of this generic space. And so they take all our vehicles and they fit them into this generic space, but the intricacies of that are important. And so as we develop this, and I'll be turning it over to Andrew in just a second, we wanted to eliminate this thought without having maybe enough information for you to make a decision that you had to decide specifically on a specific square footage amount and a specific year build out amount, because we don't really know what those mean in terms of like operation and how they would function. I kind of just go back to your conversation on this park and the enclave. It's hard to look at a park just as kind of green on a map and not know like, well, what are the amenities you're going to have in it and how does that relate to parking? And so I would offer that same thing is true for this space. It's kind of hard to determine how big you need a space to be without understanding where the pieces would go. And so with that, I'll transition to Andrew to kind of give you maybe a better line of sight to, from an operator's perspective, what's going to be important in this next phase of the process.
Yeah, I think like what Brent was talking about with the space study that Ortel completed, it was basically they were building boxes. And now we are at the point at this process of what do those boxes actually look like and what is actually fitting inside those boxes. So when we think about the City of Carver and our plow trucks, they take up a space of about 400 square feet when they have a plow on them. So where are we at now? Where are we going to be in the future? I think Ortel did a good job of laying out even, how public works buildings, what the pattern is through that. When you come into the building, should we be at the wash bay first, and then parking, and then maintenance, and all those steps. So we'll be looking at those flows. And, internally, we've had a lot of discussions about public works buildings. I've worked at a few. Utility supervisors worked at a few. Street superintendents worked at a few. So every time we go to the neighbors, the guys are starting to chatter of like, I like this, I don't like that. So we really want to get this to the right size and envision what we're going to look like in that building now and what we're going to look like in 20 years. So I think through this process, it's going to be a lot of, we might start big, we might start at that 82,000 for a 20-year build or whatever, but as we chip down, say, okay, we can double up on this space, what's the mechanic bays, how many do we really need in 20 years? Is the City of Carver going to have a police department? Is it going to be the fire department going to be 20 times bigger than it is now? We can start to make those assumptions that maybe weren't taken into account into the space study and really start to Carver size it. So suits our needs. So I think it's gonna be a good process. I think we're gonna get to a size or a build out, whatever those numbers are. And I think they're gonna be numbers that we can be confident in providing to you guys to make a good decision.
So just to kind of round that out, so you don't see this in this packet of information, but one of the steps that'll be programmed into the architectural proposal is doing building visits. And I actually stole this idea from Chanhassen, and I saw that they took their team and the city council on a bus and they visited community centers related to their project. I think that would be a great opportunity both for the council and operational staff to go through those together and have those conversations that are really meaningful about how things operate, sizes, how the building flows. And so we created these kind of 5, what we're calling guiding principles. We use something similar for City Hall. And so I'll just kind of phrase them. Creative design and operational approaches that maximize new spaces that are created. And that kind of lends itself to what Andrew was talking about is, yes, if maybe you need 100,000 square feet, but that's if you just stack everything right next to each other. But maybe there's some dual purpose areas. Building materials and construction methods that maximize value. There are traditional ways that you'll see a lot of public services or public works buildings built, but are there ways to meet that value with lower cost alternatives? I'm not gonna try to speculate what those are, but not to have Andrew do a saying in the work session and me not do anything. It's that old phrase that my father-in-law likes to use, champagne taste on a beer budget. Like what can we do to maximize the dollar that we're asking the community to invest in a new facility? Building design that meets the space needs beyond the scope of debt service. I think this probably goes without saying, but I think it'll be helpful for, as we engage it with the community, that they don't want to be paying on a facility and then have us come back to them and say, we need more space. So in essence, we turn around and have them pay on 2 new facilities because we haven't paid for the old one first. Design development and materials that provide the council with options to consider value. So we don't want to come back and say, well, this is what we came up with. This is just your one option. So we don't want them to be stark differentially, but there should be, I would offer like a spectrum of choices that give you some different paths to solving what we've identified at a need. And then building design that can be efficiently expanded for additional space in the future. I think the one thing that we know is that we're going to continue to grow. At what pace? And when you think about how long 50 years is from now, that can be a scary thing. I mean, we talked about the changes we made in just planning for this facility in 1 year. And so there is a kind of a method and a process to be able to plan accurately, but not to get over our skis and say, well, this is going to meet our need for the next 100 years. To take a chunk of planning at a bite-sized level that we feel pretty confident, okay, this is going to meet our needs. And so that's why I think this design development process is so critical, because now we just have those square boxes, and having Andrew and Paul and Jordan and the entire operations team, and even folks like Lynn and Nick Jorgensen and Aaron Schmidt kind of all contributing to making this, okay, what's the best way we can go about this and deliver the best product? That's why we're offering the guiding principles, and we're not offering these as exclusive if you want to tweak them or add to them, but we think this is a better path than saying right now, today, build to this certain size, build to this certain year. But again, this is just where we're coming from. If you have an approach that you think is better, we're happy to work through that process with you.
Do you want feedback on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now, or do you want to wait?
Council's prerogative.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for number 3, when we're talking about the building design and meeting the space beyond the scope of debt service, so tell me, okay, so when I think of this and I kind of put it in my head, you know, like rolling over your car loan. Let's say your car is not paid off, but you decide you want to roll your car over. Is this the worst thing? I mean, if we ended up building to something a little bit less now, because that's what we can afford, and later on they have to roll something into the next phase. I mean, is that the worst scenario? Tell me why.
That's not a value judgment I can make for the council.
Sure.
It's just tradition, like that's a thing that I feel like residents may or may not want to hear depending upon the resident. So typically you could do bond service in 20 years, sometimes it's 25. 30 is pretty rare. But that's ultimately up for the council to decide. We're proposing these, but if the council feels differently, you can pull that back as much as you want.
Sure, and I just was wondering what I guess your thought process behind that was, because again, when I just put it in my head, I thought, well, it's kind of like rolling your car loan over, you know, you didn't want a new one, but your loan's not paid off. Is it the worst thing that could happen?
I wouldn't say it, like, again, I'm gonna leave the value judgment to you and the council. I would say that just in getting like feedback from residents over the years, that's a low-hanging fruit to make a complaint about, did you guys think about building this long enough to have the debt paid off? That's gonna vary from person to person. But these 5 are a representation of, like when we're making these memos, I drafted these 5 with help from the team. I'm often thinking about like, what are the naysayers gonna say? What do they, along with what we heard during the listening session. And I would offer that somebody saying, why didn't you build it big enough in the first place? We kind of, frankly, I'm not suggesting that we had a resident being a naysayer during the listening session, but we had a resident who wanted to know, what the city was thinking when the original fire station and public services building was built in 2003. Why wasn't it built bigger? And so, I would offer that that's an example of that type of tone and tenor of conversation. Whether or not that's something that you want to consider in guiding principles, again, I would throw it back to the council. It's just one perspective out of probably 7,000, frankly, in the community.
So just to make sure I'm reading it right too, so when you have the 20 to 30 years in quotes, you're expecting that to be the debt service, again, 20 to 25 is probably what we would take on, that would be typical?
Yeah, it would be typical. I mean, if you're talking about, again, I'm projecting or speculating what a expansion would be, but if we're talking, anywhere from 25 to 35 million in today's dollars, and then we go out, 30 years, so from 2028 to 2058, I don't want to think about, frankly, selfishly, like how much an expansion project is going to be, and so when I think about this selfishly about like the debt service, and what that council, and I don't think I'll be here in 30 years, maybe, hopefully not.
But if you want to be.
But if I want to be, maybe. But like, in the same way, like I think of like City Hall, I wouldn't want to like be in a position to try to make that fit under an annual budget of like, okay, we've got these 2, generational type of like public investments in facilities. Selfishly, I'd rather have 1 to budget for than 2. Whether or not that's something that the council agrees with or wants to, again, that's your prerogative, and maybe others feel the same. I would offer on the budget piece, if you don't think you can afford it, it's not necessarily that like the scope is or the like you're overbuilding. It's a matter of like right sizing that budget to get. Do you look at, instead of like decreasing space, do you look at building materials or what have you? But again, there's a lot of different paths you can go down on that. I would just say general rule of thumb, if most people had an opportunity, whether it's a building or a car, you'd rather have your car paid off than roll in that negative equity into a new car.
For sure. Should I have used a house instead? Should I have used your house instead? No, that's fine. I don't mean your house, my house. I just really wanted to just flush that one out because I just wasn't settled on it. So if everyone else is completely fine, I am absolutely fine to move on.
I think all of these speak to the value, and I think that that's just one more like proof point of that we're trying to be, that like we recognize that this is potentially gonna cost a lot of money. I think it was Eric that said this is gonna be the largest investment the city of Carver's made in
Ever.
infrastructure ever. And for me, that one's really important, so that we don't build something that'll last us for 10 years, and then we still have to take a look at the loan for another decade.
If I could jump back, that's a great way to like put that. I guess what I should have said in a more short form is, if the council wants a building design that is for like designed for like a 10-year need or a 15-year need, that'd be helpful for us to understand, so that we don't come back to you with a 30-year need that's not even close. Or if you really want a 50-year need and we come back to you with a 20-year need, that's not even close. And so, we'll give you like 2 scenarios, but we're gonna focus, like the way that this is written, we'd focus on that 20 to 30-year time span. But if you're thinking 10 to 20 or 30 to 40 or some other box, that's critical for us, because as you know, these professional services are expensive, and so we don't want to be outside of your comfort level when it comes to space. So this is more of a check-in, like, is 20 to 30. Now, you're not saying I'm committed to this and whatever it comes back, I'll vote for. But what do you want to see for a building design? 20 to 30 is a lot different than 10 to 20. And so that'll help us give you a better outcome.
Yeah, and when I want to hear from us that we all agree that 20 to 30 opine on what that feels like for everybody. Like, when I think about it, we've probably been talking about this for at least 2 years. Does that sound right? If not, it feels like double that amount of time. We're potentially not gonna have shovels on the ground in this project for another 2 years. So that's like 4 or 5 years to get here. Let's envision whoever's sitting in these seats now, we build a 30-year building. The bond is paid off in 20, 25, maybe 30 years. And then let's assume that they're at capacity. Or they get another 5 years before they're bursting at the seams and they're in the same situation that we are now. I want to set this up so that it's the building in whatever phase we decide on outlasts at least the bond payment. I mean, and that it's a permanent building and it lasts forever, but I don't want to be needing more space at year 7.
I completely agree with it outlasting the bond payment. And as, anecdotally, I finished my basement 20 years after I built the house. It cost more than half the cost of building the house to finish the basement 20 years later. So I think we're all trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
So does that give you direction? Are we in agreement that we need to outlive the bond?
Yes.
So do you need 20 to 30, or are you looking for 30 to 50?
I'm not, 50 is too far out for me. I'm not comfortable with 50. I'm comfortable with 20. I'm comfortable with 30. I know, again, bond payments are usually 20 to 25 years, so I don't know what that magic number is between 20 and 30, or 20 to 30, but 50, I can't be on board with that.
What do you need from us? Do you need us to say 20 to 30 feels right, or do you need us
Yeah.
to say 20 or 30?
The range is important. So the 20 to 30 is what I'm hearing. I guess if you wanted 30 plus or less than 20, that'd be significant. I'm not hearing that yet.
Well, isn't the same logic as we had in our work session? Isn't it easier to step down? So if we're
Yes.
talking, we're not 50 years, but we give you direction, let's project out 35 years. A little bit of an increase over the bond length. We could step down from that.
You could.
The thing is the professional services that we pay are based on, talk me through that arithmetic. That's not a Brent math joke, but I know there's a correlation.
There's probably one in there.
There might, give me time.
But, I mean, it's less so probably the years and more so like the scope of the budget for the years. So, I've been sharing, so it's probably less with the architects and more the construction management folks. We've been using the number of 30 million with the, direction that like there is heavy gravitational pull to want to get that number lower. You know, and this is, just a little bit of a kind of a window into some of the conversation Andrew and I have had about it is, not that we're gonna like throw the whole space study out, there's some real relevant piece of information, but if you just look back, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit, but, Andrew and Jordan, were not on board during that process, and so, I thought Paul and I and the team did a great job with it, but I don't want the team and the city to be limited to like the 97,000 that was listed for a 30-year need and the 82,000 that was listed for the 20,000 need. I want them to go and use their expertise, their operational know-how, the architectural piece, the construction management piece, and say, you know what? And I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but maybe we can build what we think is a 20-year need right now based on that space study is actually a 30-year need because of the way that they've efficiently used the space. And so maybe that 82,000 square feet lasts us for 30 years based on some, some more due diligence. So that's why like that 20 to 30 years was put out intentionally as like a range rather than like, I didn't want to offer to the council or the community that if you chose, X year, you're going to get Y amount of square feet because that's what the space study says. That space study was an exercise in validating that there is a space need as well as like a projection of what we think you do need. Now we're at this step of like, okay, we've kind of fundamentally, I would offer, agreed as a community that there's a need. So let's get the operators and the architects in a room and let's figure that out. And so this is intended to be somewhat generic, with the caveat that if you felt like, no, we want way more than that or way less than that, we want to maximize the use of their time. And when you get that outcome back, it's like, well, I'm not even willing to think about anything more than 20. I actually want it to be 10 years and I don't want to spend any more than 5 million on this, or no, I want it at 60 years and it costs what it costs. And so we're just trying to kind of narrow that funnel of conversation, if you will, into like, this is generally what we're looking for, but the folks that really know about this need some time to figure that out. And so this is just kind of the rules of the game for them, if you will. And this isn't your only opportunity to do that. Like, I'm most excited in probably a nerdy way to like, tells you how exciting my life is. I'm most excited to like have everybody on a bus and go to some of these facilities because it's a frankly totally different thing to like see these buildings in action with the vehicles in them than to look at a piece of paper and see lines drawn. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the plow truck. I mean, you see some things that you'd never notice on a piece of paper, and I think that's good for us, but it's also good for the council, and it's good for us to hear how the council sees that, and for the council to hear how the operators see that, and I think we can use that as a springboard to have better engagement, because if we kind of observe those interactions with kind of a fine-tuned ear, we're going to be able to kind of hopefully replicate that on the community engagement side. Like, oh, Councilmember Sayer noticed this one thing. And I bet you that might track with a lot of people. So if we can recreate that in our engagement process, I think that'd be helpful. But to kind of land the plane here, we're not gonna be successful if you weren't thinking in that scope of years. If some of you are at 10 and some of you are at 50, we're selfishly looking for a consensus around a range, and that's why we offer 20 to 30.
You done?
Yes, yep.
Kayla?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I don't think you opined.
Oh, I'm fine with the 20 to 30 years.
Okay, thank you. Is that the direction you need? I assume that that's the sticky wicket of what we all focused in on, but now would be the time if you don't like anything, 1 through 5.
I have a question. Does operational efficiency include energy efficiency?
It can, but if you wanted to highlight that, I mean, that's a good comment. I know that was a topic of conversation
Right.
on our remodel project. So if you wanted to highlight a goal of like
I think it's an
sustainability,
opportunity for us to do that.
That-
This will be the largest roof area and property area.
that
for
way
consideration.
we're not in a position, I think, like we were the last time with our last consultant about, what it would cost to do that. We can, because what I would do is take whatever the final version of these are and send them out to the folks that we're soliciting proposals from and say, this is what the council wants to hit. Our kind of plan of action for this is we're kind of locked in on Ortel because they did the space study and did a great job. So they're working on their proposal. We're soliciting proposals for construction managers. But we want them to give a joint presentation to the council at your September 2nd work session and explain this process in detail and their role within that process. And then come back to your second meeting in this, September and have you consider taking action on the preferred professional service providers. So that's kind of how this process would work. And then once those steps are completed, then in October, the design development process would begin.
So Eric, I had that on my list to mention also, was the opportunity that we might have for solar. When I was looking through the packet and looking at some of the roof designs, I think if we do go that route, then it's gonna be important what roof design that we have, rather than probably just a flat one, but it depends, I guess, I'm not an expert on how they install solar panels either. But I also do know that solar has a really long-term ROI on it, so I guess I would like to know if we put it on there, like, when do we see that return on investment from it? Is it 40 years and that's just too long and it doesn't make sense? Or is it 10 years and it makes sense to us? So I guess that's kind of where I stand. I'm interested in it, for sure. But I also am interested to know what that ROI looks like on the initial output for it.
Yep, and that would be the outcome, but if
Right.
we could add a number 6 and just say that designs should include options for sustainability.
Energy efficiency and sustainability.
Yep.
Yep.
I like that. Good add. Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay, I will make a motion to pursue design development for a future public services facility with the following guiding principles. Creative design and operational approaches that maximize new spaces that are created. Building materials and construction methods that maximize value. Building design that meets space needs beyond the scope of debt service, which would be 20 to 30 years. Design development materials that provide city council with options to consider value, judgments based on efficiency, future needs, and future budget. And building design that can be efficiently expanded for additional space in the future. And number 6 that Eric added about
Energy efficiencies.
energy efficiency. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Johnson, second by Councilmember Mock. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you. 9.1, communications, the strategic plan update. Mr. Merrick.
Thought I was done.
It's not time to go home yet.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So happy to share our first update related to our strategic plan that the council worked on this past spring. I kind of tried to note the things that read. We're still working on this Pier City scorecard. Just a little bit behind in that with some transition that we had in the finance department. But we want to get that to you in early fall to give you hopefully another source of input that you can look at as it relates to the budget and some of the long-term financial planning documents that you'll have in front of you. Hopefully that provides you with maybe a foundation to be making decisions. I'm going to move to our quarterly update. So all capital planning projects and components have been refreshed. So as part of the plan update, so we looked at costs, we looked at inflation, et cetera. So the plans that you have seen and the plans that you are about to view later on in the month have all been refreshed. Working on plan goals for each of those capital plans so that, and then we're also, when you see that long-term financial plan, I know we have a couple of milestones related to maximum increase or decrease in tax base. We're still kind of workshopping some additional, I would call like milestones or kind of guardrails to that to help you consider how that plan fits within a larger financial framework. So more to come on that soon. Number 2, improved operations, organization that delivers results. So that staffing plan has been completed. We did a lot of those things last year, so there isn't a ton of updates. The local emergency management plan, we did push back to the spring of 26 from the fall of this year, just with Chief Trimble retiring. Tim Walsh and I are working on that. I am happy to share that we completed the review and justifications for the full-time fire chief's position. We did some research on that, and it sounds like the council was at least comfortable with that draft of moving that position up. So that's been completed. Responsive development, some major things kind of moving as you've seen, some potential development projects. So not a lot to report in that area. I will add that Aaron Smith has, at least what you'll see in the draft general fund budget, has some money allocated for the comprehensive plan update or the 2050 comp plan, and some strategies for community engagement, stable infrastructure systems. So this relates to the landing and kind of refreshing what those amenities are. So there was intentional kind of piece to save that to the summer of 26. So a lot of that work will start with the Planning Commission next summer. Then finally, focused communications. Brenda Good and I viewed a demonstration for a mobile app that was probably a little bit underwhelming. It wasn't exactly what we were hoping for. So we have another one that was supposed to happen today that got rescheduled by the vendor. But we have $5,000 allocated in the draft 2026 budget to try to tackle that. One of the quotes that we got was around $3,500 for a mobile app, so I'm kind of using that as kind of a plug for that. So that's, I know there's not a ton of updates here, but part of this process is to be giving quarterly updates, so there'll be more or less on certain occasions. But if there is something that's not feeling right or something that you think needs to be reprioritized or clarified, happy to take that feedback or answer any questions.
This looks good to me. I'm just digesting $3,500 for a mobile app. Seems reasonable, like really reasonable to me.
It also wasn't what we were looking for.
So double that.
Too good to be true. Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
All right, council updates. Lori, you look ready.
I don't have any today.
Okay, Christy.
We have an HPC meeting next week, so we'll have that on Tuesday. And then just a council FYI, I won't be at the next council meeting.
No communications.
Eric.
Yeah, so I was on the Mobility Management Advisory Board today for Transit Link. So I think this is something we maybe rediscovered in our last work session. I don't think we have enough awareness of the program and how it could be used in the community. So I'm going to take it on myself, and I talked to the mayor about this today too, to reserve a ride for myself and see how this works. It is, they're going to expand the service as I think September 6th. It'll include a weekend service. But I think this could really be something we use to augment Prime. And, maybe in the future, if it works well, that could take a part of what we're spending now on Prime, and we could offload to a county system. Waconia, Belle Plaine, and Norwood Young America are also moving to have a fixed circular loop, so just within the community to take residents on scheduled stops within the community. It's a buck a ride to do that.
From community to community.
Within the community.
Oh, so like Norwood Young America, they would have a bus going around Norwood?
Around Norwood and just kind of the peripheral of that.
Okay.
Waconia takes you to Target, it takes you to some other locations in Waconia. Belle Plaine, though, is looking to have a service that includes taking them to Chaska.
Okay.
So it sounds like the community gets to dictate what some of those stops would be.
And
So-
who is that? Is that through Transit Link that they're doing that, or is it some other?
So that's under, it's called, well, it's their fixed circular loops. That's different than the Transit Link where you
Okay.
make a reservation. Different services, both under the Smart Link
Okay.
system.
Are those
So-
communities, sorry to interrupt, are those
Yep.
communities paying for those services?
Well, I don't know enough about that. This was all discovery. So this is just included, the riders pay a fee, but I think that's under part of the same grant system that the Transit Link is. Regardless, it's something we need to know more about as our cost for Prime is increased and as we're looking down the road as, our fixed transit may come to an end. This looks like it's an untapped alternative, so I'll find out a little bit more myself, and I'll bring that to the next meeting.
Thanks for doing the research, Eric, and taking the ride.
So I said to Eric, I plan on taking one. Two, for me, it's so much of what I don't know, and it just seems like too much of a good deal at this
Right,
point.
right.
Or shame on us for not knowing about it until this point. And now, like literally the day after our last work session, I am seeing those buses everywhere. So almost like a sign, like we need to switch or figure it out, or I need to hop on it and see what's going on.
Brent was
Oh, I'm
This,
sorry.
and I wrote a note to the council on this, but we're trying to coordinate a meeting with the county, Southwest, and then along with Victoria and Waconia, who are kind of in a similar transit situation that we're in, with the county. So Dave Hemsey, Lyndon Robjet, to get an idea. There's money that's going into the county for transit-related purposes. They're involved with Scott County and kind of administering and funding Smart Link or Transit Link. And so we just asked for a meeting to understand, what they're getting in for revenues, how the program functions, how this transit money that they are getting, how that might be a possibility for the expansion of Prime and paying for Prime using maybe potentially some county resources. So it's a group of probably 6 or 7, and we struck out on the first round of trying to schedule that many people. So we're probably into early September at this point for a meeting. But long story short, more to come. We're investigating kind of the same topic area that Councilmember Pershman alluded to.
You'll get a better answer from Brent.
I know. This feels like a really pivotal time for transit in our community, so I'm excited to see what happens. Okay, my updates. Last Saturday, July 26th, I went to Carver Ridge for coffee with the mayor. It was a Saturday morning. It was a really good event. They have a resident who used to be on Mountain City Council, so she asks really pointed questions, and like she knows what questions to ask. And everybody asks really great questions, and they're interested in the development and what's coming in and what we're doing to kind of balance out our tax base. But Pinky asked some really great questions based on her experience. On July 30th, I had a long day. I didn't get back into Carver until closer to 9 o'clock at night, and I decided to check out the movie in the park. That was the day where there are more days than this recently than not, but the air quality was kind of crummy. It was a little warm. Wasn't sure, so I stopped in there, and it was in Ironwood Park, and I was thrilled to see that there were dozens of families. I think they estimated that there were between like 60 and 100 people in there. So really great venue. They love the venue, and they loved the turnout. So, and even it appeared that a lot of folks walked there. Not only because I could see them walking there as I was driving there, but also when I showed up late, the movie had already started, I had no issues finding a parking spot in that parking lot that we intentionally built to be a little bit smaller to encourage just that. So great for a number of different reasons. Really great evening, no bugs, great movie, very well attended.
Mayor, I heard some feedback that the community center had posted it to Real Life in Chaska, which is a natural thing because they're in Chaska, but can we encourage them to join the Carver Life group? Because I heard that it wasn't posted on Carver Life. So people were saying, "Oh no, we missed it. We didn't get a chance to see it, but we didn't see it." But I mean,
What if we encourage those folks to follow the City of Carver because it was posted on the city's page? I think we've had a long-standing tradition of not encouraging traffic on the community pages that aren't
but I'm
city.
talking about the city sharing it. I'm saying having community ed, because they're already sharing it to Real Life in Chaska. They're already on community pages. It's to have them share it and
Did
encourage
they
them.
share it in Real Life in Chaska?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can check again, but I thought it was from them. Maybe it wasn't. I'll look again, but.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's probably their philosophy is probably similar to ours. It's actually been a topic that's come up in our.
Okay, well
Mayor's
then maybe
meetings and
I
not-
just assumed it was from them and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I know that it didn't make it to Carver Life somehow. I would have thought, I guess somebody, but not everybody in the city checks out the City of Carver Facebook page as often as we would love them to. But I know that was just feedback that I received.
Right,
Is
and-
they didn't see it on a Carver social media group. So.
And it can be wonky what's in your feed and that kind of stuff. I get it. But, here's reason 497 about why we missed the Chaska Herald, right?
Right?
I do think that there were other ways that it was publicized. I know it was in the community ed book that came out at the beginning of the summer. That's when I go through and update my calendars when there's music and movies.
It was in our
park,
newsletter too, wasn't it? The city newsletter? It was?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I saw it there.
So,
Okay.
there's always
Just
going to be
feedback.
folks who didn't know. So, let's see. There was a League of Minnesota Cities board meeting on July 31st. It was our first meeting of kind of the new year with new board members. And we had it at the West St. Paul City Council because they are doing some construction on the first floor of the League building. But it's a good time to be part of the League. The policy councils are starting, so if anybody's interested in doing that, they meet 3 times. They've already had their first meetings, but that's kind of where the League listens to their members and kind of figures out what the legislative policy will be for the upcoming session. Let's see. Tomorrow night's Night to Night. I was thrilled to see the big box in the lobby, and I was surprised to see how big the box was in the lobby, and thrilled to see how full it is. So thanks for your help with that, Andrew. Really appreciate it. And there's still time to drop off your food donations. And then also really excited to see the street closures for Steamboat Days. Like, this is coming and this is happening. It's like a national holiday in the city.
Super excited too.
You're excited. So I know you work hard on that, so thank you. That is it from me. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilmember Sayer,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Pershman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Good evening.